Hi, how are you? I have been thinking why it would be beneficial for us or for anybody to believe in God. I know it sounds heretic at first. Why should I even think about things like this? But hear me out. People want scientific evidence of things and proof and something that like resemblance with the reason. And that's why I have been thinking about this at point of view of benefit. Everybody wants to benefit. But the first benefit is that we need hope. We need hope when something awful happens, when we are down on our luck, everything's not going our way, if anything. We need hope. We need hope that something better is to come. We need hope that if we might pray, God would listen and make some miracle and things would turn better. We need that kind of hope. Would you believe that if we think that everything is here and now, that we can touch, that we can grasp, and there isn't anything else? So if we as an individuals don't make our own fortune, we are lost. And of course, in most cases, it's possible, and we can make a difference of our lives. We can get an education, we can work hard, we can get a good job, and we can work hard, and we can earn money, and we can be polite to people, so we make friends. But what if something strikes back? Something serious. Somebody dies. Usually it's not those old people that die, because we think that they are so old that they are not the same thing with us. So we are not that old yet. And they are some kind of other species. But they are not. We are on our way to the same thing that they were in. But when we have to face death in a close range, when somebody that we were talking yesterday suddenly is dead and is no longer here, or someone that we really love. For example, I can tell my grandmother, who died years ago, it was very hard for me. But I thought then, and I felt, that she's not gone. She is still. Her spirit is still here. She is still here as a person. I just cannot see her, and her body is gone and buried. But we need that notion that everything is not here. We need that hope that after our life ends, our spirit continues. That there is not a full stop and everything is just turns to dust. That's the main point of our life, that we need hope. Of course, the everyday troubles may wear us down before our time, but we need hope in everyday life, and we need hope when we have to face death. And everybody fears death. So that's one of the primal fears that we have, and it helps us to keep ourselves safe when we are afraid of dying. But we don't have to be as much afraid to getting old and getting closer to death if we think that everything is not here, that our spirit and our soul isn't going to turn into dust, but only our bodies. And our spirit is going to move forward to God, probably, not to the other place. But that's one of the main things, hope. And as a society, we need order. We need these kind of commandments that aren't just don't steal, and I can calculate that if I steal, what would happen, what were the odds that I get caught, what were the odds if I murder someone to get caught, and what happens if I get caught. Can I say that it was self-defense and not do time? But when the same rule is from God, you shall not kill, I know that even if I wouldn't be caught in this life, I would be punished in next. So that makes most of us behave and not to kill each other if it's not self-defense actually. But as individuals and as a society, we need that. We need these rules, these guidelines. So if you live this way, you are like favor of God. And it can be seen now in our society that religion is slowly like fading in many circles, and people think more and more, what are the risks to get caught, what are the consequences for me, and not the fact that it's merely wrong. It's unethical, it's immoral, it's wrong. You should not do anything that hurts somebody else. That's just basic humanity. That's common sense. But in addition to common sense and humanity, it's good to have the guidelines from God. And that's why I think that it's easier for us, and it's easier for us as a community to obey these basic rules. And we all feel better. And like children, we need rules. Everybody knows that when you are raising children, you put these boundaries and rules and what can you do and what can you not, and we only eat sweets on Saturday. And because of those rules, they feel safe. They know that this is my playground, I can maneuver with this, I can pick red socks or blue socks, and those are the things that I can do and I'm allowed to do, and everything else is out of my hands. Somebody else decides. So that's the other reason why we need these rules. They make us feel safer. They give us the values, the basic values to live by. And when you live by those values, you can feel content. You can feel good about yourself. Today I lived like God expects me to live. I lived to be good to other people and to be good to my family. But something happens every once in a while. And that's another thing. Justice. You know those days, or those, I don't know, but those moments when you think that, how could they do that? How could they do that to me? And now I feel extremely bad. I suffered financial losses. I lost opportunity. Somebody does something to you to rob you from that would have been rightfully yours. Somebody hurt your children. And there is this earthly justice that doesn't always function that way. They are not punished. They are not liable to make right what they did wrong. Nobody forces them. There isn't that kind of force. Maybe it's not a crime. They just took something from you, or they hurt you, or they were really mean to you, and they ruined your day and they ruined your week. I cannot have justice for the wrong that I have suffered, but I can have some concerns of the fact that there is the ultimate justice, that God will get even for me if I cannot get even in this life, or God can get even in this life for that person that hurt me, that did harm for me on purpose, and they wanted to do that. And there are, of course, narcissists and psychopaths running around this world, so we all suffer on one point or another. But I feel it like it really makes my life easier, and I get more easily like in terms with the anxiety in my head if I think that I cannot get even, but they will have what's coming to them sooner or later. I usually don't have ill will. I don't want anything to happen to other people. Of course, there are a few exceptions, I have to admit, even though that's not very Christian of me. But you know the cases. But what comes to them is a different thing. But justice in general. Because it's very like disturbing, depressing. It causes anxiety to have a grudge, to have a permanent grudge in your heart that they did me wrong. If you think about ex-spouse, how they took years from your life and just ruined it because they could. In that kind of cases, if I stuck into that feeling and if I hang on to it and don't let go, they take, again, more years from my life. But if I can, after the first burst of anger and rage, to just think that they will get what's coming to them, one way or another, then I can move on. I can continue. I can let go of that grudge. Or I can try. And my life will be happier, and they won't take any more of my life. So that's one thing. That's justice. There is ultimate justice. Of course, there are people who say that there is no scientific evidence that God exists. No, there is not. But there is indeed a scientific evidence that God does not exist. So we are back in square one with that kind of debate. But when I hear that, I often think that what else don't we know? There are so many things in life, and if I compare it, for example, for a dog, what we can smell, our ability to smell, and dogs' ability to smell is like millions and millions of times better than ours. With one sniff, they can smell the whole football field and what has happened in there. And how many weeks would it get from us to smell a football field? But similar way, if we think what we see, and if there is a being that would see like dogs smell, what would they see? Would they see the souls of those who has passed away wandering around? Would they see angels that are in here? Or God? What would they see? So the basics of scientific evidence to one way or another, it's very childish, I think. And of course there are these philosophers that said in the previous years, Descartes, that everything else has to be proved except that there is God, because it is the ultimate truth. So they didn't even question the existence of God, and they were philosophers and scientists. So we are just now living a different time, different idea of science. And whenever somebody says that, I ask them if they believe in bad spirits or ghosts or demons. And when people say that yeah, they have heard about this and that and they have felt something, or then I ask that if there are evil spirits, aren't they good too? Or is it possible? So if you think that there is something supernatural, how can you then say that there is no God? Or that you need scientific evidence from God? But I feel sorry for atheists, the real atheists, that think that the only thing that exists is what we see and what we can touch. And there is no spirit. The spirit is only chemistry in our brain, our soul, our heart. Our heart is only the organ that pumps blood. There is no soul, there are no thoughts, there are no minds. Everything is just chemistry and electricity on our brain. But that is not a nice thought. It's not a thought with hope. It's not a thought of somehow belonging to something. So I don't want to think like that. And I feel sorry for people who think like that and are not open to the possibility that there is more. And atheism is a religion as any other. They just don't believe that there is something bigger than them. And of course, these are questions that are asked and answered differently depending on age. And for some reason, I find that the older you get, or the small children believe what they want to believe, and then they start to doubt. And when you get older, the older you get, the more you are open to believe. Of course, there is the fear of death, but there is also like the openness to our mind, to the thing that we don't know everything, we don't see everything, we don't smell everything. Our abilities are really limited. So there is no harm in believing God. There is no reason to fight it like tooth and nail. So the older you get, the more flexible you might be in these kind of things, like believing in God. But as I said in one of our previous videos, that for me it's not a thing of choice. I do not choose to believe in God or choose not to believe in God. I know that there is, or I have the so strong notion that there is something else that we can see. There is more. My grandmother is not dead. Not dead in a way that her soul would not be, that it has ceased to exist. And that's why it's impossible for me to deny the existence of forces like gods and spirits and demons. And the demons I have faced in one summer, but I'll tell you about that in another video. But to capture this, there are reasons that we would benefit as individuals and society about believing God. If you believe in God, you have hope. You have hope that things will turn better. If you believe in God, you have hope that everything is not here. So when we die, our life doesn't cease to exist, but we continue as spirits. And we would benefit from the order. So there is ultimate punishment if you do wrong. It's not just a question of police and justice system. And there is ultimate punishment for those who do harm for you So God will get even for you if you can't. And He'll do it the right way. And it doesn't matter if there is no scientific evidence of God existing, because there is no scientific evidence from Him not to exist. And there is one thing that my husband said just out of the blue one night. He says that best evidence of God existing is the Jewish people. They have been haunted for as long as they have existed, and they still thrive. So their God is mighty. Jewish God is mighty. Otherwise they would have been extinct hundreds of years ago. So you can't fight that. But it is horrible that anti-Semitism is rising its ugly head again. It's very difficult for me to understand. It is. But these were the benefits of believing God at this point. So I hope you have a great day. I see you soon. Goodbye.